so this is very strong.
8-inch marine plywood wouldn't, I don't think it would do that right there.
So we just decided to cut it out with the subframe. It'll drop right back in when we're ready to put it back in. This is rotted here, and it's rotted over here. So this beam will have to be completely replaced. This is our new stem, made out of yellow heart.
He has the ability to deliver a painful electric shock.
All right. Watch your head on the bar here.
Wow.
Yes. Okay, I guess we'll just start back here and work our way forward. This is our transfer.
First, let's say, where are we? What's the date today? We're in July now. July
11th? 11th?
Thursday, July 11th, 11:36.
Okay. Little breeze. Okay, this is our transom knee repair we did. We got rid of the 2 iron knees that were bolted through here. And so this is very strong. And so now we're moving forward with the deck removal.
Yeah, we saw the construction of this. Can you just give me a little reminder of how that was all put together? Because I have the photographs, so I can put that, do a little video about just.
Okay, this laminate, we used Alaskan yellow cedar because it's very strong and elastic, and it glues very well, and it's lightweight and doesn't rot. And it'll rot, but not. It takes a lot to rot it. And these are our sapele, which are some of the scraps from our big cutoff planks. We use that. And basically, this laminate is to tie the 2 shelves and clamps together to one another and to the transom in a horseshoe knee type form. And these are fillers to accept the ends of the deck planks and the margin board and so forth. And so it's all through bolted with bronze carriage bolts and glued up.
Happy with the way it came out?
We are, and there was a little bit of deterioration on the top of this knee. So we cut that back down an inch, dropped it down, and it got rid of that. And we treated all these surfaces with Smiths, and they repainted everything inside while it was still open, so that it's all sealed up pretty good.
Great.
So
that's what's kind of done with the transom.
Yeah, we're done with that, and luckily it was in pretty good shape.
Yeah, I hope I don't go crashing through that.
We had to add these staves here. It's called staving. Because in pulling off that big stainless piece, it was bedded in 5200 adhesive, so it peeled off a couple of the laminates of the plywood. So we soaked everything really good with Smiths and then glued these on with West Systems epoxy.
Great, and then that piece of stainless goes back on at the end.
Right, now we'll have to do some adjustments to it because this used to sag down low like this, almost 1/4 of an inch. And we brought that up, and so that plate will have some adjustments on it when we go to actually put the deck back down.
Because the plate was bent as well?
Yeah, it's bent and welded. So it'll have to be monkeyed with to get it to fit again. Okay. So now on to the deck removal.
So look, the deck is all gone back here.
We took the hatch out intact with its subframe. That way we didn't have to screw up any of the plugs and that beautiful varnish and so forth. So we just decided to cut it out with the subframe. It'll drop right back in when we're ready to put it back in. And these notches are for the king plank. This is the mizzen partners blocking. And these are those bolts we saw a few weeks ago that were really rusty. They're almost gone right here.
Come around and take a look at those. But
yeah.
So where are we looking at some new repairs? Right here?
Yeah, we're going to have, this is rotted here, and it's rotted over here. So this beam will have to be completely replaced.
This piece right here is going to be replaced?
This beam, yeah.
Okay.
And while we're at it, we'll make new blocking because this is kind of old and dried out. It's got some iron in it, and there's no use reusing the old stuff. This beam here is also rotten.
Put a little padding up here, I see. So you don't hit your head.
That's
you
my
do hit your head, dude.
Oh yeah.
that's my least
Focus
vulnerable
down.
spot. But
So
this
just
beam is
looking here,
also
This stuff is going to be all nice and new. And what's this? This is all fine.
yep.
This rabbit here is all good.
So far, so good on that.
Nice.
There are some places right here, for instance, we'll have to repair. Have to dig this out.
What do we got here?
Okay, this beam is also bad. You can see the rod in it. It was notched for the blocking that backs up the combing bolts. But it's got iron in it here and there, and it's just, and a couple of repairs on the other side that are short.
So both these, you're thinking, this one and this one are going to come out.
And this one.
And that's a shorty.
Well, it is now because this repair was real short. See it here? They just kind of,
But it's supposed to go all the way across.
uh-huh.
This doesn't look like it crosses that.
No, this is a repair too. You see down here they added this repair to
Okay.
this Carlin. This is called a Carlin, a fore and aft beam. And so we're going to have to do some work in here.
So
That's
this unit here needs some work.
Yeah, and so does this. These three beams need replacing. This one can be replaced in one piece. These cannot because of the margin boards.
Okay.
But because they're on bulkheads, we can put a scarf in the middle and glue it in place and then screw and glue it to the bulkhead. So it's just as strong as a full beam at that point. And then these pieces ran underneath the winch pads like that, and they were kind of just pieced in.
What are they, like trim?
Yeah, trim, and they had a little slope to them, which was good to
Bring
deflect
the
water.
away.
Uh-huh. But we'll probably do away with these.
Redo them?
Because, oh yeah, they're shot,
But-
both sides.
Yeah.
And we're going to have to pull the combings,
How far back? How far?
all the whole combing.
The whole, oh, the whole thing.
Oh yeah,
Oh, yeah.
because there's all this stuff under here. Clint dug out the other side and it took a long time, but there's screws and all kinds of stuff under here. And I think what they did when they replaced the deck the last time is they just cut it and left
Cut
that,
that off, yeah.
and then butted to it. Put in some blocking probably at that same time. And we'll go on the other side here and look at the other side's more complete, the demolition. Take a look at the other side. But you can see how thin this was. And this ran underneath this,
Now, you're saying how thin what was?
the deck right here.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
It was very thin running underneath these. And so, and this is all rotten under here. Fortunately, it looks like this Carlin is fairly decent, as are the deck beams from here forward. So you can see how the stuff was left under there?
Yeah, and we want to get decking under there. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, and same here. See, there was a bunch of little pieces that they had kind of like stuffed under there.
Sure, instead of to avoid pulling the whole thing off.
Right, because you see these bolts?
Yeah,
They had the piece around them.
but we're not. We're going to take
no.
it off.
We're going to take it off for many reasons because we want to cut this higher, maybe almost a ½ inch higher.
So we can get the subfloor and the deck
Exactly.
in one nice piece.
And
I'm
this
catching on.
then will be out of the way so we can just lay the deck instead
Yeah.
of piecing around it
Oh, yeah.
and then back in.
Oh, much better.
Yeah. And so, but you
I'm
can,
excited about this plan.
it's starting to look like something. It looks like a mess, but it's the stuff we were worried about, the deck beams and all that are so far really in good shape. They need some help.
But what about what I'm thinking is, what about this piece? What's that called?
That's called the Carlin.
Column?
Carlin, like George Carlin?
A Carlin?
Uh-huh. Yeah,
Carlin.
A Carlin is any beam that runs fore and aft. Those little ones up there are hatch Carlins. the little short ones.
The hatch carlins. Okay.
Right.
Any beam that runs fore and aft, and the ones that run side to side.
Are beams,
Beams.
like deck beams or frames.
Okay, so
Deck frames, deck beams.
carlins.
Carlins, yeah.
So
There's a lot
how
of
is this carlin?
decent,
Decent.
decent.
Original, obviously.
There's been a repair here, same as the other side. See it? Kind of a
Is
short.
this, you think water got in here or something?
Oh yeah, I mean,
This is this piece laid on top of the. They cut it out.
yeah.
Not
And
too bad.
it's kind of pieced in here. So
The worst of that plywood was too.
yeah.
I saved this for you to look at. Just okay, hold on a second. All right, Clint's gonna tell us about the plywood.
Well, this is just removed from the end here where the repairs were, and it seemed that's where the worst of the plywood was, and it all came up like this. Which marine plywood wouldn't. I don't think it would do that right there. It's just completely delaminated.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So that's.
So that was all here, and I see these metal bolts. These are gonna come out obviously too.
Oh yeah. Yeah, we'll
But these weren't stainless, huh?
No, they're just iron.
Iron bolt. What are you gonna use?
Bronze.
We're gonna use bronze whenever possible.
Always.
Always.
Yeah, because see, there's only about $10 worth of bronze and stuff. Maybe call it 20. But how much labor is there to make the bolt, drill them, line them up, and install them? So it just doesn't make any sense to use anything nowadays but bronze, because the labor to put those in iron is just crazy. It doesn't make sense. I do not.
Okay.
So I don't know why you see this all the time. You know, they'll use bronze screws and keel bolts, and then floor timber bolts and this type of stuff, they'll use iron, the hardest stuff to replace. Remember when the deck was on?
Yeah.
These have been almost impossible to get out. With this hatch in here, you could. So
Okay. But looking this way, you like the way the frames and stuff look, and
I do.
the candy wrappers are good there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Was that a health food bar, Clint? Oh,
Oh, it's a granola bar.
oh, then we're good.
And how about the mizzen step?
Looks decent.
Okay.
Looks good. We'll do some more inspecting down there when we get this out of the way. But then, so the starboard side,
Getting this deck off pretty effectively.
yeah.
It's time consuming. Yeah.
Well, the problem is chipping away at these seams so you don't screw them up. So you got to. This has to be a nice line when we're all done. So you've got a mixture of caulking and 5200 that just doesn't want to let go, and so you can't just come in here and brutally scrape and chip this. You have to be very careful. We'll show you on the other side. In fact, I think we should go the other side.
Okay.
One of the things we did, the reason we didn't just start going like this, we took every other one or so off. We wanted to see the tops of the bulkheads and get a general idea of the condition of the frames, the deck beams. Okay. And so you can see in here, this 5200 adhesive is very powerful and hard to remove. So you got to be careful not to chew the wood up. This is your main beam here. That's the one, remember last year we stuck the screwdriver in it?
The main one that goes under the cabinet.
Right.
Okay. And that's supposed to go straight across one piece?
Yeah, and it does.
It does.
It's got a little bit of stuff going on there, and I don't know who or why they chiseled out underneath. But what we're going to probably do is get this out, this log, and
That little cover piece.
well, it's actually kind of complex. It goes in and then lips up and down to keep water out. It's a good design. It's just that, yeah. So that has to come out, and then we'll clean up the beam and do whatever treating we can. And then we're thinking of cleaning the bottom of the beam and taking a piece of oak or something like that and gluing a 1/2-inch piece to the bottom of this beam
Nice.
just to help bring that back. Now, it's true that the cabin gives it a lot of its own rigidity because the cabin sits on it and is bolted through it. But nonetheless,
It doesn't look like a very big beam.
it's about the right size for this boat. It could be bigger, only because, see, this beam doesn't have to be too big because it's supported by a bulkhead all the way across. And that's where a lot of the strength of the boat is, right here. But this one's kind of standing on its own, and it could have been a little bigger. So we're going to make it a little bigger, about a ½ inch thicker this way. And this is all this, see this rabbet that was created here? This is where the ply or the subdeck goes, and then the teak goes into this rabbet.
Oh, that's a double rabbet?
Yeah, and so it was.
You don't just chip the whole thing out.
No, and getting it out, this 5200 is really something. It won't let go.
Now that's not what you're going to use? You're going to use dolphinite? Or
Well,
what do you use?
well, here we're going to use West Systems epoxy, which is a marine glue. See, 5200 is a strong adhesive, but it's not good for wood because it's a moisture trap. It'll allow moisture to condensate and then stand behind it. And whereas epoxy glue soaks into the wood and it doesn't move. It's rigid, and it's a better moisture barrier.
If when the next person, let's say, has the boat and they want to redo the deck
Mm-hmm.
in 30 years,
I'll be
on
gone.
my death, I will be dead.
Yeah.
What's the best way for them to take this deck we're putting on off?
Well, they'd have to do something similar, but like when you go to peel this, let's say you had to peel this off, it's not coming off. So you just take a panel saw and you would cut and then chisel down to the glue and then hit it with a
It
grinder.
would be more like one piece of wood. You're
Right.
saying that you would then have to reshape into the new rabbet.
Yeah, because see, the idea is to make the repair not necessary. In other words, it's going to be hard to take apart no matter what, but this 5200 was part of the problem. I think the main problem that they had was the inferior ply, or I'm not, see how it just, there's no glue left. See here, Charlie? It's just everywhere, just coming apart.
Right.
And I'm not sure why. I don't know why. Other than it just was not a good grade of ply, or they got a bad batch, or.
All right, so how long do you think it's going to take just to get this all ready? Just to get the deck off and cleaned up where you go, okay, now we have some sister frames to do or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Is this another couple of weeks of work?
Oh, to get this ready to start decking?
No, or just all cleaned up and ready to start fixing sister frames.
More than 2 weeks, that's for sure. Because there's thousands of screws, and there are all different types of heads, reed and print, slot, different sizes and so forth. And they have to pull these up one by one. We split these out. We'll show you in a minute if you'd like to see, but
Sure.
basically we split it out and you wrestle the plywood off. The biggest time-consuming thing is this seam here and these two rabbets with this seam. See, because this has to be very pristine when you go to put the new deck back
Sure.
down. And all this adhesive that's still stuck on here, you have to remove it mechanically. We've tried heat guns and all that, it helps, but it's just
gotta
inch
do it
by
by hand.
inch, inch by inch. But we're getting some methods going. It'll speed up a little bit. So, and we were concerned about the bulkheads. As you can see, this bulkhead had some repairs in it. Right
Maybe
here.
before they replace the deck.
Who knows? This bulkhead's nice. The veneer is coming off a little bit. We can either re-glue that or redo that. But the main thing is the deck beams look really nice. They're going to need to be scraped and sanded and plugged and sealed. Also, while the deck is off at this height, you can come in here and sand. Feel how rough the beam is, the old paint's peeling.
Yeah.
We can sand all these beams all the way around while the deck's off, so that you're not down below doing this in the dark.
Oh, so we can repaint.
Right, so that while the deck is off, that's when you repaint these.
Nice.
Because you can see, you can breathe, the
Yeah.
fumes aren't killing you,
Yeah.
and so forth. Now here's a piece of the decking we saved. As you can see the plywood coming apart. It looks like they didn't seal this when they put it on the beam. Like it's bare wood or something, I don't know. But in any case, it's got what appears to be a single coat of paint, and that's all.
But that was not painted before it was installed.
No, you can tell it was painted like this.
Yeah.
So what we're going to
You didn't
do,
do a very good job painting the boat either.
well, no. And so, gosh, that's a lot of labor. But if you, let's say you make a panel 8 feet long and this wide, you get it, you pre-drill it, mark it and number it. You go down below and with a pencil make light lines where the beams are. Take it down, flip it upside down, and just soak all of it with Smiths, especially the edges, the edge grain. And then the next day you sand it out, put your primer on, tape off where the beams go. That's where your little lines are. Put your primer on. Next day sand that out, put your first coat of finish paint on. So you have Smiths, a coat of primer, and maybe 2 coats of finish paint. Now when it goes down, it's all painted, as are the beams. You see what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And so there's none of this.
What do we see about up here?
Up here?
Yeah.
Well, there's been some repairs here. Looks like they did a good job. Possibly here too. Corners of the cabins were whatever was going on there.
There's no structural issues there.
No, I don't think so. It looks nice inside too, and it sounds really, wherever we figure it out or feel it out, it's good.
And so how about the stem? We haven't seen the finished.
Oh yeah. Now here, you see the ply again?
Yeah.
You see how loose? I'm not even using any force at all, and this was throughout the deck. Now it's better.
This must have obviously gotten wet. And
it doesn't smell like it's got rot in it.
So it's just old and just dried out.
Yes. There's just no glue. Where'd the glue go? Anyway, remember the termite droppings in the galley?
Yes.
It was in this area here, and we have a little rot here that I think we can repair. So we have it.
Is that the Carlin again?
No, actually the Carlin's on the inside here, but this is the piece that they created the rabbit with. It's notched into the beams.
Okay.
We'll call that the rabbit board.
Rabbit board. Okay.
And so it's just hunt and peck. And then we come along here. There's an iron knee in here.
Really?
Yeah, one per side. It's basically halfway between these 2 bulkheads. And its purpose is to support the cabin here.
Okay.
It's a nice knee. But we took out a couple bolts, and you can see the pitting that's starting.
Yeah.
And this one came out of the hull, and it's got some pitting. Okay. It's stainless, but even stainless rusts, especially if it's an inferior quality. I'm not saying that it was, but this is probably original equipment.
Okay.
So it's time to replace them. But the knee itself, down inside here, this comes up, it's formed over the shear clamp and shelf, comes out onto the deck beam all the way into this, almost to the Carlin.
Okay, yeah.
And it's rusty, it's not corroded, but it's rusty in places. So while we got the deck off, we're gonna pull those knees out, take them down to bare metal, OSFO them, seal them back up, and then put in new bolts.
There's just one on each side.
Yeah.
It's the metal.
Yeah, they're iron knees, but they'll be fine as long as we clean them up now.
Take them all out.
Yeah.
Okay. Put new bolts in.
Yep. And then bed them in dolphinite or something like that, so that they're isolated from the wood.
You don't want to remake them in brass?
No, they're fine. I mean, they're almost 60 years old, and they just have a little bit of surface rust. Here's how this beam that the knee is on. There's no screws holding the decking down, and so we just popped it off like this. And here's.
So you say, but not every frame has a deck. I mean, has a
screws.
Screws.
Well, I think their thinking here was that these are fairly close together, and just let it ride. And it was okay had they at least put a couple in. But here you can see the teak, and it was still wet.
Really?
Yeah, it smells funny. And this is the adhesive they put down. They put it down with a tooth trowel.
Oh, that's actually like it was a paste of some sort.
5200.
Yeah.
Looks like.
Well, this is hard. Yeah.
It was like a goo that they then troweled, right?
Well, it looks like 5200. See how it's staying together?
Wow.
So they had a lot of that on hand. and more delamination, of course. Beam's good so far. Little bulkhead's good. And we exposed this beam. It's like brand new.
Wow.
Now, you see this stuff here? When that deck is on, this is going to be a cave up here, and you're going to be like in any corner. So the beams are in good shape. You see this, all this rough stuff here?
Okay.
If that deck was on and you were trying to sand that, it would be way up in a little corner. And
Oh yeah. Not
so
possible.
all of this stuff, while the deck's off, we want to sand and repaint as much of it as possible. It's got to be done anyway. So we'll do it while the deck's on.
Okay.
Same with a lot of the interior work. You know, we're talking about Bill, like building the V-berth in here,
Yeah.
the galley stuff and the other cabinets. Get as much of that built as we can while the deck's on. And we're going to have to pull this windlass on.
No way. Really? Of course.
Of course.
Yeah, because you got to get to the king plank or whatever it's called.
Yep.
What's it called again?
King plank.
Okay. We're gonna redo that king plank?
I'm thinking we should save that one. The only problem with it is not thick enough.
For the new deck?
Yeah. And it's in pretty good shape. You just
Is it screwed in?
Oh yeah, it's screwed in.
Not just screwed in?
It sits in this rabbet here, and it's cutting all the deck beams. Actually, a notch, not a rabbet.
Okay.
And
The
so
screws are.
yeah. So that's the one we'll have to revisit.
Is there any concern of the boat being out of the water for all this time?
None whatsoever.
Because all the planks are obviously just fresh wood.
They're going to end, and the old ones will be gone.
Those are gone.
And we don't care if the deck dries out.
The frame shouldn't be wet.
No, the frames should be just fine in here. So sitting in this environment, there shouldn't be hardly any deterioration, anything.
Okay.
So, okay, then up here to the stem. Okay,
Yep.
this is our new stem, made out of yellow heart, and our scarf is about 24 inches long. The scarf has 3 bolts going through it, 3 3/8 bronze bolts with this Sapile laminated plate backing up everything. And then forward and aft of the scarf is another bolt. So this is very strong. And we have to finish fairing the rabbet. We'll get to that when we start planking again.
But she's in and bolted it.
Oh yeah, and glued in.
Glued in. Great. You happy with it?
Yeah, see this side here, see how nice that is? The plank line?
Yeah.
Well, the other side there were some strange repairs, so we'll have to do a couple of splines in there. Not the end of the world, but just some. And again, when we...
Couple of repairs, just like they did.
Right, so see this here, the spline will have to be like from 3/8 down, and then it's just a piece missing, basically.
I see, from the plan.
Yeah, so there was some work done there. Don't know for sure what happened, but like I say, when we drop the scaffolding back down a couple more feet, and it's at this height, and we begin planking, then we'll finish that. Starboard side about the same. We haven't gotten quite as far on the demolition yet, but we're getting there. Good beams. So far the bulkheads are pretty good. And here's that same iron knee that was on the other side. So
Right.
we'll do them both. Just take them off and redo them. De-rust them and get them sealed up real good. Watch your head.
Okay.
Same thing on this bulkhead. It's okay, the veneer is just starting to delaminate on top. Not terrible, but not so good.
I can see it, yeah, there, it doesn't look so good.
And this just
Where
needs,
are we here? We're in the closet. This
Yeah.
closet needs some work.
yeah, you can feel how rough this is. So this is a sanding block. Scrub it really hard. Probably have to replace this panel here. See how it's delaminated?
No, I'd like to replace and pull out all this old
stuff?
Stuff that's in the wall that we don't even need. I don't even know what that's from the old toilet.
Yeah. Well, and this is delaminated, this little bulkhead here.
Right. So once we get this off, we're going to try to...
Well, you got some old galvanized pipe here or whatever, plastic stuff that's ancient. See it?
Comes out, needs to come out.
Yeah.
Some wasted space in there, a couple spots.
There's some wasted space. And whatever goes back in here, this closet, because of the environment that it's in, it needs to have some good ventilators put in, some to let air out up high.
Yeah, I mean, I want to take a look at redoing this whole thing with a new bathroom, toilet, and maybe even shower and kind of holding tank.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, because it's yeah, it's time to do something. And these lockers, same thing. Bulkhead looks really good here. Plywood bulkhead.
Of course, we don't know what it looks like under the
Cabin?
cabin.
Well, generally if it's bad, it's going to be bad out on the deck.
Deck, okay.
Yeah, yeah. Other than that, that's pretty much the tour of the deck.
Great.
So it's really, it's about this here and here. Just getting that out and being able to reuse that rabbet and get this line really clean. Because otherwise it just, and we may have to cut this in, this log about 3/8 of an inch or so. See as it slopes up? By doing that, we could put a panel saw and get a nice cut. Then we won't worry about taking this stuff out. We'll just make a nice cut. And by going in, it also goes up, so we can get our deck thickness back. That sort of thing. We'll, once we get the deck off, we'll make that decision.
Okay.